So in this game, I wanted to show you what ideal hound play looks like when you're responding to an emergency situation with a limited amount of hounds, and what they can actually do over the 10 minutes or so, and the outweighed effect they have on the game, allowing you to boom and then go into T3. Now, it's not going to be me which demonstrates this. I have an okay game, not right at the start as you'll see, but it's actually from Atheos, which plays just a remarkable game. And actually our whole team is pretty remarkable. Our only weak point is, as we can see over here in the canyon, we've got Bluetooth Tony and Schreiber. Not saying they're bad players or anything, because they're only 3 chevrons, right? But they're very new. So we have got a definite weak spot, and opposing that weak spot is Death. It's their best 2 players. We've got Sommon and Zeril Q plays from Bats. Also, we've got their top 3 actually, because we've got Deeds as well, which is here. So the only thing which sort of goes in our favour is there's a relatively noob tech for the opposing team. So we're going to see if we can exploit that. But it's not looking good from this matchup already. So right away from Deeds, we see a very sneaky play with a couple of grunts coming down here in the canyon. Now usually this is a bit more Canyon's responsibility to oppose this with some faster units. I'm having to pull back, and yeah, so all my windmills go down and it's left to my commander. As annoying as it is, it's not the worst thing in the world. Fortunately, we'd build this energy storage so I didn't completely run out of energy. Now blue, we can see already for tech, and this is a masterclass in tech play, already has some T1 ticks, because you can see there's some leakage happening, so wants a little bit of control over that. Now someone said in game to me that ticks are really nerfed now and no good. I'm not sure if that's the case. They seem pretty good to me, especially when you're looking at 20 to 40 DPS for all of 17 metal, and it's another target on the board. Now the tech actually provides me some energy here, which is absolutely marvellous. So I find I'm having to retract back just to hold this sort of front line without getting ambushed. So if we want to look at Eco's economy here, just interestingly, they explode the commander about 5 minutes 30. I'd consider this relatively late, but it's all working for Atheos. Now we do notice also a couple of energy storages, which is super interesting, and plenty of windmills, which I think is really key for Eco getting off to a good start. What surprises me is this position of 3 construction turrets, which does seem like a lot to me, but they must know it's better because their advanced bot lab is up before 6 minutes, and a constructor. Interestingly, with this eco play, there's no metal storage, which is something I'd generally put down. So we come see this really early pressure against the noobish canyon, having a really hard time from the get-go. Oh lordy, things aren't looking too good in the canyon at all. Just see this consistent unit disparity between both players. Okay, so I'm coming across to help now with all my forces. So I've got some pawns and I've got some maces. This should be enough to send them back. Pretty much just in time as well. Now having this really strong front line here, a little bit back, has helped me just basically get all my forces and put them into the canyon. And I'm also telling the other front to move right if they can. Tech is already quite aware that we need some help. And air's on the ball too. This is marvellous to see. Always the issue with an early push like this, super aggressive, is they're going to donate a whole heap of metal here in the end to us. They're basically making the bet that air won't respond, and that's usually a bad bet to make. But they sniffed weakness and couldn't help themselves. Unfortunately, I'm over here, so I won't be reclaiming any of this juicy metal. Now, the next thing I'm working on with this defense line is I'm getting my gauntlet down, because they're really coming into my territory, and I want to be putting the pressure on from this line. I haven't got any troops to do it with, so I'll do it with the gauntlet. The random things is hitting straight up. It's interesting what priority it uses. What is the gauntlet doing? Missing a lot of shots. Oh my. I definitely haven't got it on attack ground, so it's just missing everything. At least the canyon's safe. I do see the enemy air coming here. Trying to take down some of the shurikens. At least with this pressure we've forced the enemy to build 3 construction turrets. Now with all this happening, we're getting up to some key timings for eco, and I just want to look at this a bit more. So it looks like we'll hold here quite nicely. It looks like canyon's held. Beautiful. Let's look at eco. So they got that 6-minute T2 constructor route, and we can already see with all these construction turrets, pretty much every one of these T2 mexes is up by 11:45 or so, 11:40. And also we can see the reactor is almost up, so that'll be up by 12 minutes 30 or so. It's an excellent timing on that first reactor. Yeah, we can see this charge of the mighty. Not even close. Wow. Decided to come through where we're weak, which is always smarter, especially when using grunts. Air's super good coming in and shutting down this lead. I push forward because I've pushed out of the canyon and come round the back to squeeze this line in a sort of pincer movement and hope I've got enough moving parts that sort of bamboozles them. In the end, I get out microed and bamboozled. With that, look at that D-gunner, that's fantastic. So Deeds is turning into quite a hard player, but we're still making a fair bit of progress on this base. Particularly I want to take down these Castros, so my agitator continue to do its ghastly work of usually missing. So Orange has basically come down here to put on pressure, but it's sort of looking more and more like a metal donation in the happening. Very risky play. Orange probably wasn't ever considering that we'd able to come out of the canyon so unopposed. But I think what Red and Yellow has done has tried to eco up without realising we'd push back so effectively. So we smell weakness. Look at this. Nice. Yeah, so it's turned into a giant metal donation. One thing I didn't do here is once the gauntlet had finished its grisly task, I probably should have reclaimed it. It's very expensive at 1200 metal. While I was commentating that, we can actually see a reclaim take place here of the T2 lab. All the while, Tech has produced 12 Hounds and also a compass and a smuggler. So this would be considered, I guess, from what we're going to see as we follow these Hounds around, what we'd consider a minimum force to really contest with, if we can keep it alive. We can see some fantastic micro to start off, getting away from the Fiends. With the 12 construction turrets here, I think Atheos, the tech, really produced these in about a minute flat. It's quite impressive. And then instantly reclaimed the T2 lab about just before the 13-minute mark. It's a very effective timing push. So the canyon really is showing their noobiness by just not even able to stop a league of T1 tanks here, a few of them. Possibly building the wrong units like Rocketeers, but now they've found out building thugs. This is beautiful harassment. So Tech has been able to basically catch these players flat-footed as they sit on the front line, which, you know, is very possible to do when you've got a multitask back at base and you just got to ignore other things sometimes just to do the base stuff. And just very unluckily for Sommon, it's really hit them hard this time. So these Hounds have already got 18 kills, and I think also Tech has got these Compass and Smugglers on another hotkey. I'm joining the fray at the moment with my couple of Hounds. Seeing how proficiently this was done, I should have just given these over right away, but I want to be in the action as well, even if only with 3 Hounds. Big push with the Fiends. See how quick the Hounds are in comparison? They can get away easily. I actually accidentally sacrificed these hounds. There we go. I'm not as good as Atheos, the cyan blue, with the micro. You see this fearless attack of the Sheldons against the Sheldons, and stopped by the tzar. Timing for the tzar. Shaping up to be quite a nightmare fort from the enemy. Does not deter cyan blue. Our fearless tech lord notifies these grave robbers are in danger. So now we can see Atheos come in around the side and taking whatever targets they can get. So moving on the flanks as a skirmisher should, getting out of the Sheldon's line of sight, or I should say easy line of sight, because they have got a jammer bot. These Sheldons though will attack ground if they see an opportunity. So this canyon's definitely looking under threat. And we see Atheos come back round to contest the canyon. Me as well. So an early tzar, they sort of didn't learn anything, because we see this move forward by air. And really there's no response from the enemy, because they don't have any air. So it was very brave to push this tzar forward. This is essentially a free little deal for us. So we're at about the 20-minute mark now, and I've got some tick spam coming up, just to really rebuff these Sheldons from moving forward. Also, I've assigned over the Hounds that I have, about 6 of them, over to Atheos, seeing what stellar work they're doing. So now we see a blob of about 16 Hounds with 34 kills. At the 20-minute mark, let's look at how everyone's econ's going. So eco is booming like crazy at this timing. Now 100% I think you should build aphises as eco, not too many reactors, simply because eco, once you're booming, you'll be able to devote 100% of the economy into eco. I might not have minded seeing another maybe couple of reactors, but you know, this player knows what they're doing, particularly with all the wind turbines they've built, just to float some extra energy to facilitate that first aphis construction. So we're seeing 3 aphis at 21 minutes, which isn't too bad. The economy is about 147, so they're booming nicely. On our side, we haven't had too much time to concentrate on the eco, because we're just trying to man this front line properly. And also I'm producing snipers, because I'm seeing the Sheldons and I'm thinking, well, let's sort of make sure these Sheldons do not push forward on us. So I'm trying to constantly create units, but still I've managed to put out 2 reactors and the 1 advanced energy converter at the moment, and those 2 reactors should ensure my snipers keep on firing. But I think from this boom we're basically going to see tech, no matter what eco I build, particularly while producing units, tech will always have double the economy I have just from this boom. Sneaking around the canyon to take down a few more things. We can see just how demoralising this is. As soon as these Hounds show up, it's time to retreat. On this side, I'm starting to poke forward a little bit, best I'm able to. Although I've got a little bit of Sheldon fire there. Look at this. Back in it. Excellent micro. These Sheldons really not able to contest against the Fiends in the canyon. They can't get that extra sort of 200 range they need. Oh, playing the road. Oh no, attacking. Okay, so tech's actually attacking quite well. So having the critical mass, particularly with some help to even break through and defeat some defences here. Though we are starting to see tigers worryingly. I always like the philosophy of having the sumos. I definitely see the attraction of them, but when you're up against snipers, they just sort of turn into big fat targets. Look, they're pretty much one-shotted. It's quite crazy. At least they're not one-shotted, I guess. Tech's Hounds comes forward again, just to sort of snipe at the banishers here. Anyone that ventures too close gets picked on. And over here I'm contesting the Sheldons at the same time, making sure they pull back. There we go, the Sheldon's going down. Lovely to see. Very expensive, over 500 metal hop, and you can't really reclaim it. So we see some strategic brilliance from Air, saying, let them in. Look at these Hounds, even against the Tigers. This Jammer bot is still alive. So kudos to Tech. He's just forcing his way back. Now without Air, I think the Canyon would be in a spot of trouble long, long ago. So Air's done just a fantastic job with those shrinkers. Look at this. It's amazing that they just leave their units there, but I guess they must have AFK'd. We see almost 80 kills now for these Hounds, which is unbelievable efficiency. Let's actually look at the efficiency of Atheos. About 500%. And now they're starting up the big tick spam, which thankfully, so I've got some visibility. The snipers on the front line have about 80 kills themselves, but cost a lot more than a few Hounds do. This one Tiger comes down, very brave. Now I think red and yellow are very fixated on taking down the canyon. I've just got to work out the sort of force mix to do it. Now at the time, this is the first time I've seen cyan blue actually drop the micro, because I think they're just very busy preparing for this attack. In fact, I'm going to pause for a moment because we're going to see a fairly big attack from red and yellow and a lot of busyness going on. We've got 5 Aphises and 21 T2 energy converters, seem to be doing the job, and the 1 reactor up here. And that's allowed basically Atheos to do this stellar timing attack with an experimental lab relying on these 50 or so construction turrets that's also built for the tick production tool, of course. But it's been able to be built very, very quickly. All this building has probably come up around the 24-minute stage, I would say, because we already see a Thor up that's got up super quick and some Razorbacks. In fact, I don't know how Atheos has done it. They've like moved at warp speed. I'm sure I saw sort of 3 Aphises before, that a couple others must have been produced in no time at all. And this experimental gantry, and that's how quickly Eco can boom into a timing attack. By comparison, I'm slowly scaling up, but I've been holding the front line there. But again, cyan blue has been doing a stellar job holding the front line up to now, and only really once we're getting up to the 26-minute mark is it just too much for Hounds anymore, even with the protection of the canyon. But they're still able to sit back and annoy. So we can see like 8 Razorbacks and a Thor going forward to attack. And also, interestingly, some Marauders being produced. Now, because cyan blue has had their finger on the pulse of how under attack the canyon is, I think the Marauders are built to basically respond to that, and are just building up that critical mass force at the moment. We see this attack happen with the saved up ticks and the Razorbacks and Thor. I move forward as well. Not looking too good in the canyon, is it? And they've learned by building all this anti-air. But anti-air, especially this much of it, isn't going to help against a heap of Marauders. Over here, this attack is just unbelievable. And that's the issue with red and yellow just being a little bit too aggressive and not enough pork, or not enough defense, porcupine, is just being able to be counterattacked so efficiently. And relying on spam. That's the issue with this meta of relying on spam all the time. The Razorbacks handle that effortlessly. This Thor is super painful. I wish my snipers could move a bit faster though. Just try it as fast as I can. The Thor doesn't end up doing too much. I do find that with the Thor, I find it a bit of a very ordinary unit. Like compared to the Razorbacks, I guess it's good for tanking some shots. So I've moved forward in the end with my snipers, 21 or so, with some welders for protection and some anti-air. Now one thing I did do is I included the radar and jammer bot in with my sniper group. Those two bots moved forward and got themselves killed, so definitely got to keep those in another subgroup. Yeah, those Razorbacks, if there's no sort of answering T3, geez, they dominate. That's crazy. Yeah, they really are the ultimate answer to the grunt spam meta. In this short time, these three Razorbacks have killed 240 units. They pretty much destroyed all the bases. It's crazy. So Cyan Blue saving the day once again, and showing us all how it's done. We can see with the tech play, they're responsible for all the enemy resource production destruction basically. With destroying units and defences, we also see a massive lead even on what I done, 742,000, which is really impressive. And look at this efficient use of resources. I don't know how this is calculated, but I've never seen a 3.9 before. So Atheos gets the bull. That was fantastic play. We'll dig into the stats a little bit and discover why that took place also. If we look at Atheos here, so we see a normal amount of metal produced for a tech. I mean, is not getting like too insane. Even Royal Fly in the end almost matched the metal produced. So it was really a good couple of timing attacks without neglecting the eco too much. And if we look over the other team at their eco, I'm not actually sure who the eco was. We've got sort of two ecos. One's doing a bit better job and one's doing as good a job as our eco, but just couldn't make it work on the battlefield. We only see 100k damage each, so they might have been gifting units. Who knows? No damage received, so maybe not some effective play. But our team worked together really well, covering our weak spot. Our air was super good. I held the line, and Atheos just exploited like crazy. And so this shows the viability of going eco and into T2 Hounds and how effective it is if you just try and really boom while your Hounds are doing all the damage, and then you can go into the T3, which Razorbacks showed their worth. They're not always that effective, I must say. You know what might be a really good time in attack is build 10 Razorbacks and just let your other players know that you're pushing forward and just see how it goes. Particularly against players that have been really aggressive, push on them because they're likely not to have huge porcupine defences, and you can really take out their bases like crazy. If not, if it's just all too hard, immediately switch over to Titans, I believe. I think they are weak to EMP or something compared to the Thors perhaps, but geez, they're so much better. They're so much better in practice. I always find the Thors a bit of a raging disappointment, and we saw it there. The Thor didn't really do much at all, whereas the Razorback's done all the heavy lifting. They just had to stay alive was the key, and the tick spam really helped with that. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed watching that tech play and demonstration of the use of Hounds to great effect. If you like the video, leave a like or a comment. Appreciate that very much, and see you next video.